All right, we are on session 5 of the day with Project Real. This was my middle school students' favorite time of year when we got to do the cool stuff, according to them, because it was real stuff, not history, which was boring, according to my middle school students. So, Mike, the floor is yours. Let's learn about the real stuff, Project Real.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
being here with us today.
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah.
So, hi everyone. My name is Mike Kamer. I am Project Real's executive director, and I've been with our organization since 2016. What we do is we go into classrooms and kind of enhance the lessons that are being taught by kind of adding a new subject, which is law. We try and squeeze it in. It is civics based, but kids learn math, kids learn science, kids learn history. We don't necessarily give them a law class unless they're signed up for something like us coming in, or if they get an elective criminal justice program, We the People, something like that. So at the same time, gravity, oxygen, um, these things are always around us, and you don't really notice them until anything goes wrong. That's kind of how it works for the law. So we're asking kids to live in a world where they're going to be held to certain standards and then not teaching them the rules of how to navigate it. And that was kind of the founding of Project Real. Now we've come a long way since then. And really what we want to do as we move forward, and it's been this way for several years, is it's less about getting kids to memorize laws and more about giving them the power to live the lives that they want to live. Uh, that means keeping them out of the playground to prison pipeline. And it also means helping them navigate a world where a lot of people have learned how the law works through life experience. So it's these older people that already know it ahead of them. And sometimes, especially ages 18 to 25, and I'll get to that in a minute, that is something that puts them at a serious disadvantage. So all of our resources are provided for free. Anything you hear about today, all you have to do is request it. If you're in here as an ELA instructor and thinking, okay, this is more civics, you got to understand Project Real's work has been designed to fit into as many classes as possible and as many core classes as possible so that we can reach as many students as possible. So we have a lot of critical thinking and a lot of writing exercises, and everything we've designed has been designed to statewide. Okay, this is going to try and get ahead of me here. I'm sorry. Uh, Everything that we have designed has been designed to reach as many content correlations as possible so it's as easy for teachers to justify having us in their classrooms. So our mission, vision, and values, they look just like anybody else's, but they're all listed in the beginning of our books. And these things, they can look like flowery statements, but really, we're thinking about these elements of our work every time we create a new resource and experience that we bring into the classroom, anytime we update it, anytime we're taking teacher feedback. So let's go on. So I'm probably going to sound like I'm selling you something today. And I think it is kind of sales pitch in that I'm asking for your time, whether it's, off contract or simply giving us classroom time when you have certain tests to teach to, whatever. Sorry, this thing's going to fight me the rest of this time. I don't know why. But everything we really do, it is free. It won't cost anything. There are some very small exceptions to that. We do courthouse field trips in Southern Nevada and in Clark County and in Washoe County. And we have, sorry, let's see if that works. The changing screens is throwing me off. I apologize. We reimburse the cost of the buses. What we can't reimburse is the cost of substitutes that are filling in the classroom. So okay, I'm sorry, give me just 1 second here. I'm gonna change things up a little bit so that it's not on autoplay because I don't know why oh, there we go. All right, let's go back. All right, so anyway, everything you see today, if you're excited, it's free. The one catch, we're grant funded for about 85% of our work. And so we have to report not just the work we're doing, but like evidence for that work. So when we can show people that we've done these great things through pre-test and post-test participation, they say they can see what we're doing and they can see how effective we are. So, like I said earlier, we've designed everything to be flexible. So it's not just social studies or a civics resource. They are natural partners, yeah, but like I said, ELA courses, we can hit 30 plus standards. And actually, if you're trying to do that thing where the English teachers and history teachers are trying to have their kids do similar stuff at the same time, we're kind of perfect for something like that. PE, health, and specials are also great resources. The work we do is creating social, economic, emotional, and behavioral opportunities and improvements for all the students that we reach. We have we've never gone below 80% positive impact among the students that we work. So that means that at least 80% of the students we serve report somewhat to significantly, here we go, report somewhat to significantly wanting to change their behaviors as a direct result of their project real experience. Now, in third grade through eighth grade, that's really, it is more behavioral, like risk taking, getting into trouble. And then in high school, it's really more, I'll explain it more, but like when we do our relationship violence prevention experience, kids are really changing how they're thinking about the choices they make while they're in relationships, what's safe for them, what's acceptable for them. And yet this is all rooted in law-based education. So why are we going through all these details? I really just want you to understand why each step matters, like on an academic level, when we go from grades 3 through 12 today, and I tell you a little bit about each resource. We want you to get something out of it besides our resources. And, take our approach of time restricted instruction, meaning we know we're asking for your time. Take that and bring that to your school. So we are out here. I'm here today out of pure selfishness. We need advocates. We've been doing this for nearly 20 years, and lots of people want the fun things like our costumed mock trials, right? Or the courthouse field trip. But then when we're asking for pre-tests and post-tests, or we're saying, hey, look, the field trip is fun, we can't give that to all the schools all the time. And also, we have some information that the kids should be exploring first. When you see the full picture of how we operate, it's going to help you understand when we're telling you we're having an 84% success rate, that like we're making Nevada better. And we're making these futures better for these kids. It's not just a cute mock trial with Harry Potter, or those of you that are Golden Knights fans, Bark Andre Furry versus Baby Shark Burns in the case of the broken hockey stick. Yes, they're cute. Yes, they're adorable. But what we're really doing is setting these kids up for amazing lives and giving them opportunities later on in life based on the information we give them as a third grader who's going to be a little bit better in fourth grade when we come and do a mock trial with them than the kid who didn't have that the year before. We might sound like some lawyer's passion project. Let's go into school and teach kids laws, and maybe we'll create some judges and lawyers out of it. But that's really not how we operate, and that's not how it got started. So I'm going to go over our history first. In 2004, our founders, Sam Lionel and Erwin Molaski, they lived here in Vegas. We're reading the RJ. I don't know if you all remember back then, at least among my age group, there was a colloquial reference to North Las Vegas as North Town. You would see like drive-by shootings in the RJ all the time among teenagers. And this is what Sam and Erwin were looking at, thinking, these kids are breaking all these laws. Somebody should probably teach the laws to the kids so at least they understand the consequences of it. I wonder if they even realize how much trouble they're risking. Uh, there's some value to that. I think some of it's a little quaint. We can all accept that 20 years later. But excuse me, within a month of them first meeting about this issue, they decided, let's do something about it. They launched Project Real, and they launched us with courthouse tours at the time where they would take kids to see court. And then Play by the Rules, which is a middle school book that taught 200 laws specific to Nevada, which they licensed out from a group called the Alabama Center for Civic Education. So the original court tours, students in grades 5 through 12 would spend 3 to 5 days learning out of like a little book we'd hand out about how courts works. And then they'd go and talk to different courthouse staff members, tour the buildings, and maybe if they were lucky, they'd get to like see a little bit of court, sometimes criminal, sometimes civil. The anti-crime stuff was Play by the Rules. So 200 laws specific to Nevada and the consequences of breaking them. It was written at a 6th grade reading level at the time, and it was very dare-like. So, it was telling the kids, hey, here's a list of laws, and you need to follow them or else. Now, there are some activities in there that kind of gave them some room to think and process what they were learning. But if you looked at like our pre-tests and post-tests and the information that was being analyzed, which we still collect today, it was very academic driven. It was very much like, possessing cigarettes as a minor. Is that a civil infraction, a felony, a misdemeanor? And then seeing how they would respond. So in 2011, we went statewide. We had some great help getting up to Washoe County School District, initially just that area, just Washoe County. And around that same time, we also launched a new program, as what we were calling those at the time, Real Drama. And Real Drama was, let's tell kids a story about a major case through a play, and then let them research and read some news stories. Court tours around then started to evolve into courthouse field trips. They were still called tours, but basically the focus became more on giving it a real structure and trying to make sure that the kids could see live court. It didn't always work, but a lot more kids were going into criminal courtrooms and seeing criminal proceedings, or at least civil court proceedings. Back then, we had PDE trainings. I don't know if the phrasing changes district to district, but certainly here in Clark County, and I know in Washoe County, teachers could get 5 CUs for learning about Play by the Rules and then implementing it in their classrooms. And then, so during that time period, before I'd arrived, December 2004 to March 2016, about 80,000 students had taken part in Play by the Rules, including Christine's students, I believe. 72,000 had attended a courthouse tour, and nearly 6,000 had taken part in Real Drama. So back then, and this is going to be important, and I'll tell you that I had a call just yesterday where this came up. Teachers would contact us and say, hey, can I get a courthouse field trip? We would say, are you at least teaching 5th grade? Yeah, okay, sure, you got it. Hey, can I get a Play by the Rules for my students? Sure, are you at least teaching 5th grade? Yeah, okay, here you go, you got it. So high school classes were using Play by the Rules, like high school history classes even, using this book with these little blue birds, and you'll see them later, that were designed for middle school kids. This program through the same people that put out We the People, I believe, the Center for Civic Education, National Center for Civic Education, probably murdering that word, sorry, phrasing. Foundations of Democracy was like a K-5 set. And somebody would say, hey, I saw this on your website, can I get it? And we would just buy a set and donate it to the school, just kind of like, hey, we've reached some students. Basically, if you're a school, sure, take our stuff. We were trying to reach as many students with as many of our resources as possible. The problems with that is that some kids had the same experience year after year. So like kids could do Play by the Rules in 6th grade and then again in 8th grade, and it wasn't designed really for that. It was designed to be one and done, like a great experience. Our courthouse field trips, they could have 3 courthouse field trips in a row and never learn any laws specific to Nevada, because that's how it was just like, take what we'll give you whatever you ask for. So when I came on board, it was myself and our past executive director, we brought a new set of eyes to things. And we're like, how can we make this more effective and in a way that we're going to really serve students better? Because it didn't seem right that kids were repeating things. Like, what were they getting out of it? Repeating play by the rules twice, for example. And I have post tests from years going back that show, knowledge gain was about the same. We weren't having the impact we could have. So first thing, we started reworking the courthouse tours, officially made them field trips. We're not going to point and look at stuff. You're going to experience live criminal proceedings, and you're going to do a Q&A with a judge. In Southern Nevada, we're able to do it where we start with live criminal proceedings in state court and then move to federal court for the Q&A. In other regions, just due to timing, the volume of cases, and the amount of coordination needed, we're not able to provide that exact experience, but we can show live criminal proceedings and then do a Q&A with the federal judge after. So right now we do that in Clark County and Washoe County. And I lost track of my thought earlier, but in, I want to say Lyon County, we'll have some of the schools even bus in. I should mention, not only are we statewide, but we really are trying to reach more rural schools. So whether you're from one and you're here today, or you have friends in one, I'm just gonna kind of do a quick aside here. I was able to attend something this past spring called the Basin Range Exchange. The whole idea was to get more metropolitan resources and activities and experiences and bring those to our rural parts of Nevada. The one thing I was told is Zoom ain't gonna cut it. So if a rural school contacts Project Real and says, we want your experiences, but don't just send the books, fine, might take us a while, but we will drive there and deliver as much as we would within the city. So please, this applies to everyone, tell all your friends. Anyhow, 2016 to today. So what we started doing was we decided we weren't gonna let kids just blindly repeat activity after activity that we offered and kind of do this luck of the draw thing. We changed our approach to what we now call the sequential education project. And the idea is that kids can have a different experience each year. Let me just get to that. So limited field trips, limited mock trials, maximum impact. So if somebody calls us and says, hey, I want to do the Harry Potter criminal trial, but my kids are in 5th grade, we're not just going to give that to them. We'll say we have a 5th grade civil trial, but we have a certain thing for certain grade levels. Some of it's to also keep our time so that we can serve as many students as possible with the resources that we have. But basically, what we've done is we've set something up where each activity that we've provided and created or developed for each grade level is built to that age group and is built to build upon the last experience. So if a kid has a 4th grade experience and then they don't have anything else until 7th grade, it's gonna be okay. But the kid that has 3rd, then 4th, and 5th, and 6th is just going to excel in not just the law-related education areas of study, but behaviorally, socially, and they're really going to be able to navigate life after 18 and all the ways that laws shape their lives. So just want to kind of give you an idea of what we've got here. So for 3rd grade, we start with a mock trial for Bark Andre Furry. That becomes a 4th grade mock trial along with 4 days of lessons leading into it called Rules, Laws, and You. That builds up to a Harry Potter criminal trial. 5th grade, we have 3 days of lessons, something called Real Ready that we'll talk about, and then either a civil mock trial for Harry Potter or a courthouse field trip, which this year are finally back, and I have enough budget to cover buses for 20 field trips at least in Southern Nevada. Middle school, we will do Courts and You, the courthouse field trip again for 6th grade. And ideally with this, and because of the pandemic, I am allowing for some flex between grades 6 and 7. It's really easy to tie a history class to a courthouse experience. Just tell me what area you're in. I will find a case most of the kids will find interesting. Um, we also have a book coming out called History in You that we'll talk about that takes the work we do and just embeds it right into history. So you're still doing history, but the kids are learning modern laws. And then in 8th grade, we have a resource on pause called Immigration in You, but this is really the start of our critical thinking preparation, where we get kids to understand laws that they may not care about or even think about are shaping not just their lives every day, but the entire history of the nation. So that moves on to high school. And with high school, you'll notice it's not grade specific. It's just year 1, 2, 3, 4. High schools have a little more room to negotiate with us on when they get what, but the idea remains the same. We don't want kids in US history going on a courthouse field trip and then doing the same thing from us and using our resources, at least in government. Let's give them something else. But so are 4 years of history resources, which are a little less sequential and really more about when can we get it to them. Begin with the courthouse field trip. Privacy in You is wild. The teachers that use it love it, but it is a hard sell. But it's about 5 or 7 days where kids learn about Edward Snowden and the leaks, and each kid's going to be different. They decide what they value more, privacy or national security, and then whether Snowden was a hero or a villain or both. But again, it's that idea with Immigration in You. How do laws you're not really always thinking about shape your life every single day? Rights in You is about safe interactions with police officers. That can sound controversial. It's really not. We had kids from Metro's, what is it called? Their junior, oh my God, Metro Explorers. So it's like junior police officers pre-training that is for ages 16 to 20, I believe. They took part in helping create the material along with a retired police captain. And then, so now it's starting to sound like propaganda in a negative way, but also the former executive director for the ACLU helped punch up the script. And somehow we got everybody to get along and say, this is exactly what it should be. So it's not so bland that it's useless, but it's really a great way to talk about critical thinking and, even just your personal reactions in a moment, and then understanding how even when things might not seem fair, what the law says is going to determine the outcomes of certain situations. Finally, we have Independence in You and Interactions in You, and this thing has just gone on fire. So when I got to Project Real, we started developing Independence in You in 2016. We only released it in May 2020, 2022, May 2022. And we've already provided 15,000 copies of this book, which is 190 pages of Adulting 101. All the ways laws are going to shape your life between 18 and 25 and beyond. It just blows out through the door. And we prioritize who gets it based on a presentation that we give with it. The last thing, kind of a wraparound resource that we have that I'll get into a bit, is our Real Ready experience. So this is kind of an emergency intervention that was designed directly out of when the kids were coming back from the pandemic. It's a 45-minute conversation, and we'd like it to happen twice a year during National Constitution Day, which is next Saturday, I think, and then May 1st on National Law Day. We don't need to be there for this one. And honestly, we shouldn't. And I'll explain why when we get to that. All right. So our resources, let's really get into it. First off, our website, you'll see these bars in front of you: elementary school, middle school, high school. I got to tell our guy to roll them down because everybody just sees it and scrolls past it. But when you click them, it's going to open up and show you every elementary school resource we have, every middle school resource we have. And then if you click on the book covers that show up for some of them, you can get even more details. It's just a lot of words when I can't be in the room to do what I'm doing now, just talking at you, hoping I can convince you to say Project Real. You're wordy, but this is awesome. Let me get your stuff. Please let me bring this into my class. But really, if you have questions after today and you go to our website, your answers are pretty much there. You can, it's, we're going through a lot of changes right now, so I'm not 100% on all of these. But if you download from the project/resources page, and if you see in the top right corner where it says our project on our website, you hover over that, 3 options drop down, and one of them will be resources. And so you go there and you can download sample packets. I believe for choices in you, courts in you, rules, laws in you, and possibly a few of the others, it'll give you a list of the ELA and Social Studies Civics statewide content correlations that all of this ties to. So even if you're like, I don't want to talk to Mike on the phone for 10 minutes, just let me see what it is. There's your way out. So we've already kind of gone over the flow of things. Let me just tell you a little bit about our 3rd grade and get right into it. So with grade 3, Courts, Fairness, and You, right now it's a 2 to 3 period experience. The purple cover on the top, Devin versus Kendall, it's a case about a stolen cell phone. It's a criminal trial, and it's designed to be read in class by your developing readers. The next day, and hopefully that day, if you take the time, you can like pre-set up the courtroom in somebody's class and just rotate kids out, is how a lot of 3rd grade teachers do it. And this also stands for 4th and 5th for our elementary stuff. But basically, our developing reader script is letting the experienced readers practice, because the costume trial, where we have costumes that we bring in and everybody dresses up as the Golden Knights or the Sharks or fans if they're in the jury, you have your developing readers in the character roles on day 1. You have your experienced readers in the character roles on day 2, so the flow goes better while everybody's in costume, and it helps everybody get more out of it. And so just by facilitating the flow of how the performance goes, we're just trying to make sure that everybody's getting the most value out of the time we're taking up in class. But so the 2 scripts are nearly identical. We've made enough things different that the kids don't necessarily catch on, but the words are so close that the first day acts as a second rehearsal for the next day. At some point when we've got a position open right now, when we hire our Real Ready coordinator, we're going to have them work with some of our past partners to develop a 3rd day that would set them up to learn the concepts you see on the screen: equality, fairness, justice, consequences, responsibilities, legal and illegal. Very basic vocabulary, but in a very adult understanding of those things. So that would set up their experience in, okay, this is what criminal court is. But we don't explain court yet. We hold on to that for 4th grade. So with 4th grade, this is a multi-day experience, heavily developed, but kids learn the difference between rules and laws. They learn the steps of a criminal trial, the roles in court, and this is really kind of getting them set up for 5th grade. But what we've done, and what we try and do with all of our resources, is, look, if I asked you guys what grade you learned long division in, unless it was your favorite teacher, your memory might not be accurate. But if we all sat down and asked ourselves, what was every field trip we attended, we could probably sit down and write out that list with, very accurate. So when all of our resources are being designed, whether it's our 3rd grade costume mock trials or 4th and 5th, or our adulting 101 guide, how can we bring in the little time that we're given by the teachers, how can we bring in that field trip feeling to the time we're given in your classroom? So with this, it builds up to a surprise, and we always ask for the costume trials, like don't let the kids know they're going to do it until they show up that day. But surprise, you're doing a costume mock trial, it locks in their memory. This really sets them up also for the 5th grade courthouse field trip, because they'll remember, oh yeah, Jenny, she was the prosecutor last year. And yes, sometimes they will say the word prostituter, and everybody just has to keep a straight face and play along, and it's adorable. But like, oh yeah, or they were the lawyer for Harry Potter. So they remember these things, not 100% accuracy, but we're not worried about their academic performance, and we're given 5 days. Are they getting the general concepts enough that they'll kind of understand it, and is it going to influence their behavior in a positive? So fourth grade is really where things blow up. And if you want to just see, like maybe you're a high school teacher and you're like, how's it work for the elementary kids? I'm just curious. And we're building these out for all of our resources, but grade fourth is the most built out. You'll find everything online, including like PDF style games that we've created. Our book, you can see that on the left-hand side. So the book is magazine style, 8.5 by 11. We've broken, if you look on the page in the lower left-hand corner, you can see there's some text and then a picture and then a picture and some text. Each of those becomes its own slide. So if you want to go old school and have the kids read one brick at a time in class, we'll give you the books and they can follow along with the slides on the screen. We've got everything for teachers too to make their own notes. And it's all in one Google Drive. And again, all of this is free. You just got to email and say, can I get access? And then for God's sakes, please get us pre-tests and post-tests. Fifth grade, courthouse field trip. It does build off fourth grade. And we've seen our post-tests easily. Kids are doing better, even though we're less concerned with academic performance than behavioral changes. But kids do better when they've had fourth grade rules, laws, and you, even if it is a year later, even if it was only 4 or 5 days in the classroom. But we also do have a mock trial. If you do the courthouse field trip, we do have this guide that you see on the left, but it really, and we have we had when I came on board a beginner and then an advanced version. They're basically the same, and it's way too over the head for honestly most adults, let alone fifth graders. So we broke it down to some very simple ways to explain the difference between civil and criminal court roles, and just a little slightly more advanced version of what we tell. And this grade 5 PowerPoint that we have instead of the book, that also works for grades 6 through 8 as well, and even some high schools. The thing with our costume mock trials, I love the pop culture themes. They do make them more memorable. It's making it hard for us to expand. And there's a lot of stuff to the costumes. The other thing is we all know there's been some reading skill loss since the pandemic. So what was good for third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade pre-2020 is no longer the case. So if right now we're flexing a little, if you're in fifth grade and you want to do the fourth grade mock trial, the criminal version instead, we will do that. And we'll have fourth grade do third grade. And third grade is kind of on pause. At the same time, we've got some Nevada Humanities funding that we're hoping to use to rewrite those scripts to make them a little simpler. And to make them about generic superheroes, which will make it a lot easier for us because then it's just giving the kids capes, maybe eye masks, and it's easier to ship around to different schools or parts of the roles. So a little bit of change to just be aware of. We do really encourage all the grades to do it at once, and this kind of goes to the philosophy of Real Ready. Real Law Week is the idea that grades 3, grades 4, grades 5, somehow, if there's a Real Ready experience happening at that school, it's happening for the same grades at the same time. Yeah, it's a headache. Yeah, it takes a lot of coordination, but man, it pays off. When you have third, fourth, and fifth graders talking about rules and laws on the playground, because they're all doing it at the same time over the course of about a week there is a conversation happening in the community of kids, and it is shaping behavior for the better. And we've seen that. We've got just teacher general observations. We're not going in and looking at numbers yet. That's going to require some funding. But from what we're hearing, it's exactly what we hypothesized, which was the more the kids are engaged in conversation about the law, the more it's influencing their choices, which leads us to middle school. Needing to say no. I should touch on that. Some people will be like, can I just do the costume mock trial? We're limited in our resources, and also like, yeah, it's cute, but really on our end, you're just burning class time. We put a lot of work into making sure that these are going to leave an impact on the kids. And I've only got so many kits I can hand out. So if I'm going to hold on to that for a school that says, yeah, we're going to do the whole thing. We also don't send out these 3 scripts specifically because if we do, teachers will just, and they have done this, because they've shown up to a field trip where we had a costume mock trial and they already had printed copies that they'd made at the school themselves. So they will print them out on their own, and then we won't get pre-test and post-test info. So
Well,
I can probably.
I love that you're saying no to that. I have to just applaud you for that, because that's not teaching anything, right? Like we're not going beyond DOK1 by just doing a play, right? Yeah. We're not learning, we're just doing, then we're just, I mean, even our theater classes want to go beyond that, right? We want to go in depth, and we want to learn, and we want to do inquiry, and we want to learn why things are the way they are. And so in order to do a play, we want to learn why things are the way they are. So I applaud you for that. And
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. I wanted to stop you and tell you, like, thank you for that. Like,
but to be fair, not to take too much credit, some of it is, if they print them out, we won't get the pre-test and post-test because we'll never hear from them again a lot of the time.
But it's not even that.
Some of it's just keeping our doors open. But
and I appreciate that, but like I also just want to say, like, I think that that's so important, and in this time of like us trying to do better at being really, really thoughtful about getting deeper and into inquiry based learning, I think it's super, super important that we're showing that social studies is beyond memorization and facts and dates. Right? We're no longer remembering that Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, because that's not what we're about, right? And so I think that's fantastic. So I just really wanted to stop you there for a second and say, I think that's fantastic, and thank you for sticking to your to that and going beyond that. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, and social studies is critical thinking. And so it's such a memorizing dates, that was the old way, and now it's how does something you learned affect you today? And most adults can't answer that right away, and you see what happens as civics is dying and critical thinking is dying, and people break laws and things because somebody told them that they could, that it's okay. And they don't recognize that the law says what the law says. So even if somebody says, go ahead and do this thing, there's a possibility of consequences. And we'll talk about Real Ready at the very end here to kind of explain how we take that to a kid's approach. And anyhow, let me move on. So your students knew play by the rules, Christine. The blue bird, you guys can kind of see X'd out there. We licensed that from Alabama. It taught 200 laws and how to memorize them. You would do it once, and then some kids would end up doing it multiple years before we had a kind of an SEP. When the social studies standards kind of changed in 2018 statewide for civics and social studies, play by the rules somehow got a little more difficult to promote to social studies and civics instructors. So this was like the first time I really took on a project with my team of, one, let's find a way, because it play by the rules still fit with ELA pretty well. So one, let's maximize those points of contact. And two, let's find a way to fit it to the new standards and so it was leaning into some of the more critical thinking ones than our past stuff did. But three, is there a way to make this thing something that takes 10 or 11 class periods, up to 15 in some cases, way more than we typically can ask for from a teacher. 5 is usually the most. How do we make this really usable and really fit into the classroom? So as gamers call it, we tried to design high replay value, meaning you can play the same video game over and over and it's a different time. We tried to create something that was going to gel more with a modern audience. A lot of the examples in Play by the Rules were super dated. We made it as about memorizing as little as possible. And instead, we focused on something that became the focus of this Real Ready thing. Pausing before you prank, thinking within the law, and asking yourself, is this worth the risk of something where maybe I might be breaking the law rather than just doing something I'm going to get grounded or detention for? So so what we have instead now of Play by the Rules is choices in you. If you look on the left and you look at the old play by the rules, you'll see all the characters were birds, some cute hand drawn illustrations there, CD sale, because kids are going to know what that is in middle school. But also, if you read it, like what is malicious mischief on the left, and you look at the end, you see that NRS is written directly into the paragraph. And look down, what is theft? And NRS, NRS, NRS. We were asking kids to read the back of a cereal box. It was informative, but man, that could really reduce some of the participation. The activities were things like word searches, and there were a couple of games, but there were a lot of word searches, a lot of crosswords, things like that. On the right, you can see what we shifted to. It's still, some of it can be a little listy. This was our first edition. We wanted to get something to replace play by the rules. So we looked at a lot of the content. And in between the two, we had redesigned a way to try and use play by the rules that could, again, have that replay value. But now we've taken out the NRSs. Some of this is a lot more conversational. So instead of just telling them this is the law, this is how it works, you'll see moments of like, you might think, this might feel to you like, instead of if you are found delinquent, like one of them is more conversational. And that conversational approach goes into all of our programming. Like I was saying, it's a little bit easier to read. The illustrations, best feedback we got, and the first school to jump right into this was Fremont Middle School here in Vegas. Many of you might know that as the school where kids were getting arrested all the time for harassing the neighborhood when they were walking between school and home, especially pre-pandemic. They were throwing rocks at some of the dogs in the neighborhood. They were blocking the street, causing cars to honk at them, and then they were slapping their hands on the cars, just all sorts of stuff. Fremont took this on before they transitioned into the Magnet Academy. So they started it last year with their kids who were still just zoned for them. Loved it. First note I got from their teacher, the kids love the illustrations. They all feel like they can see themselves in it. I'm a comic book nerd. When I saw how well Miles Morales, the Spider-Man in the cartoon movie one, was doing with kids, how Black and Hispanic kids were able to say, oh my God, that Spider-Man looks like me. We made that a priority for all of our character designs to make sure that the kids that we're serving can see themselves in the books. And that goes to our stock photo selection also. So coming eventually is going to be government, community, and you. This will probably be a project that has to be done between ELA and social studies civics classes. We're going to try and make it a grade 6 through 8 thing. Sorry, let me go back to this. Choices in You has been designed so that kids can do it in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade and never have the same experience twice. All of the activities are super engaging, and the kids don't get to read the whole chapter. It's all team-based learning. So each kid gets 2 pages to read from a chapter. They all, on a team, they decide the 1 or 2 sentences that, of all the things we learned, this was the newest and most important to us. So through democracy, they pick what to share with the class, and then the class does a bunch of activities. The activities, they all perform pretty badly in them. And that's the point. The more they fail and they see how big the consequences of failing when the law is involved, the more they want to pause before they pray and think within the law and ask themselves, is it worth the risk? So that kind of replay value has made this experience massive. Same goes with community and you. When this comes out, and it's in development, but really excited for it. Some of you know Project Citizen. Maybe you have a special class you do that with, where kids do kind of like a science fair for civics. This is going to have an activity like that where we do encourage kids to change policy, but it's like a lot more. We have a history of policy change in the US. It's written at a middle school level, but it should also work for high school. So we'll do things like running for office as a way to change a policy and shape laws. But for the example, we picked something like and we really, because this can get, it could look politicized, we're very careful. And for environmental work, we picked Richard Nixon. For running for office, we picked a trans activist from the GOP party. But then, of course, we have like student walkouts from LA as to show how walkouts are a tool. We talk about boycotts and the power of those and how they work, when they don't, why they get used as a tool. All the various methods of public policy change. So we're really excited to roll this out. It will be coming soon, and you can download a sample of what we've got so far from the site. History and You, like I said, this will be coming a lot sooner. The whole thing is drafted. I'm working on the teacher's guide now, and it's requiring the input of multiple lawyers. Long story short, I'll give you one example from it. It is also team-based learning. We ask middle school kids, hey, let's say you get caught taking part in the Boston Tea Party. Using the law table at the end of this chapter, what's the minimum and maximum state penalties you would face, federal penalties you would face, and then assuming that you get two judges that don't let you serve your sentences concurrently, like what's that maximum number of years total you could end up facing for having taken part in something like a Boston Tea Party. So they're applying modern laws to US history. We've designed this as either an end of unit review or an end of the year review. So, you know, you finish the Civil War, then you use our book to cover the Civil War period, Western expansion, whatever. Everyone who's seen this thing loves it and keeps asking for it. It's just, we're a really small team and like not asking for donations. We're a little underfunded, but so are all nonprofits. When we can get it out, we will get it out, and we're really excited about that. So we're also updating Immigration and You. It is available now. You can download the samples. Let me get into high school. So high school, like I said, I already kind of went over these two, the Edward Snowden one. This one's designed for about 5 days. It can go into criminal justice. I prefer it doesn't. Really, all of our resources are designed to be used in core classes. What happens with We the People and the clubs, you know, where kids can take We the People electives, that is awesome. When we're designing our materials, though, we want it so that if we are at a school and a certain class is using it, that it's a class that every student has to attend. There is not a student we miss. There is no law class that's required the way math or science or reading. So what can we do to implement that, you know? And so this has been the hardest to get out. So it's the one I'm like, okay, criminal justice can use this one. But if you are a core class teacher and you can find a way to fit it in, we would love for that. Same thing with Rights and You. Right now, it's a play script, and then we will try and get a criminal defense attorney and a public prosecutor or somebody along those lines to come in and speak to your students if you do what's like a dry table read in the class. Okay, so now the big one. For high school, Independence and You. I'll go here. 190 pages. You can all see the whole thing right now. Choices in You. Also, Choices in You for middle school. The entire book is posted online as a single PDF, and then each chapter is posted online. And we're optimizing it for Chromebooks. So a horizontal version is being designed now where each chapter is fitted perfectly for a Chromebook screen for middle school. For high school, the entire book is posted online, projectrealnv.org/adulting. And each chapter is posted individually. Some chapters, if you click on them, rather than just downloading an individual chapter, will take you to additional resources. And this thing is going to grow over the years. Right now, we just have for Unit 6 on wealth development and economics, and this is really designed for government classes. So when you switch to econ, we have something I used when I was on food stamps and unemployment. It's an Excel sheet that helps you budget and record every single purchase you have, so almost like a running bank statement, but also it's helping you budget for the rest of the year and year over year over year. So you can estimate how much you're spending on groceries, rent, whatever, and how much you have coming in, how much you have going out. It helps kids plan multi-year budgets, and it's a calculator too. So every time you put minus or plus, like it's changing the running total. That's going to expand to articles about individual subjects, linking kids to the actual government-run free tax return site so they don't get their $35 stolen from them from Intuit when they click the wrong link. But This book is in, like I said, very high demand. Last year we spent $80,000 printing 15,000 guides. I'm down to about 5,000, and those are reserved for Rancho Valley, Western Clark, LVHS, LVA, and then whatever's left over, it's first come, first serve until I can get another 80 grand. It is available digitally for free, but the printed ones, look, I know kids are on their phones all the time. They're digital these days. Why give them something printed? This is so much harder to lose than a link, than a PDF file. We tell them, take this with you like you would your yearbook, shove it under your bed, forget that it's there until you move, but take it with you and bring it out whenever you need it. The feedback we've gotten from the individual lessons we've offered from it, from kids scrolling through the book, has been insane. I didn't know I needed to know this, and now I don't know how, and nobody taught me this, is generally the comment. Any 30-year-old who's flipped through the guide for more than 10 seconds says, either can I have a copy, or why didn't somebody do this for me when I was 18? This is changing the amount of opportunity available to recent high school graduates. Economic, social, professional, personal opportunities are more available to them when they know how to navigate things that most of us didn't during those years. Getting your first security deposit can get you $800 to $1,000 in your pocket back instead of having some shady landlord steal it. 2/3 of Americans can't afford a $500 emergency. We're starting to fix poverty with 2 paragraphs in this book. Anyway, download a copy if you're interested. But so to prioritize the schools who get it, we have our domestic violence prevention experience. I show up, eventually it'll be someone else. We tell a 45-minute story. It puts the kids into the role of somebody who experiences relationship violence. It's told in gender neutral terms, helps them, they hear it for them. So you do this, you do that, they do this, they do that. They do a post test, and then we do 45 minutes of academic content saying, now we told you the story. We just see how the story impacted them. And then we cover the academic content from the relationship section in the guide. That is so important because, and let me turn off my share. Sorry. Hang on just a second. Okay, well, I guess I don't know how to turn this thing off right now. We've only got a few seconds. Basically, oh, there we go. All right. Hi. Welcome, everyone. I know we've got not much time for questions, but the thing with the teen law guides, the people that let us take the time to do the relationship violence prevention are the ones that are going to get the books first. We need one day or one full class period if you're on block schedule, or 2 periods if you're on standard schedule, to come in. We blend all the government classes into a lecture hall and then just blow through this thing. That happened because of something that high school kids asked for. So in 2017, the Nevada Youth Legislature passes this thing, SB 108, requiring high schools, it was the idea, to provide law-related education, specifically education about sex trafficking and relationship violence. There's now a report on the Department of Education's website listing Project Real as one of 3 free resources, and I think the only one designed here in Nevada, that teachers can use to provide that info. If you read the report, it says schools are required to do this. No one's enforcing it. But if you need justification for having us come, just point them to the DOE website. So with like the minute or 2 left, are there any questions? I know I see chat stuff. I know I was just talking at you, but I'd welcome any questions you have. No? All right. Well, I'm going to put my email in there. You guys can always go on our website and use the form to request stuff. But if you see something and you want it, just email me directly, really. I did get approved in Clark County to provide PDEs recently. We need to redesign them for Project Real's new kind of status. And we've basically redesigned everything since those were first offered, but they'll be available soon. You'll be able to get some CUs down here, at least, for basically spending an hour doing this again, and then 3 more learning about the specific resource you'd sign up for. And then the 12 hours left, just bringing it into the classroom and using it. So, good way to get us into your school and get you rewarded. Ashley, I would love to get, if you're in government, if you have government instructors, please send them my way. We did drop some books off at Legacy during graduation last year. I'd love to get the kids the actual relationship violence presentation this year. You're the only one with your school name on you, so that's why you're getting called out. All right. Thanks.
That's great. Yeah,
Thanks.
your resources are fantastic, and I know you've been working really, really hard to revise them. And like I said, we used them. I was really lucky in that my dad's a retired police officer, so we didn't quite use them like verbatim because I
Yeah.
agree they were a little dry. So we had lots of guest speakers in our classroom, and we we used them in our own unique way. And we had lots of people come in and talk to the kids, but they loved learning about how it was relatable to them. And I think that's so important. So any way that you can incorporate that kind of stuff into your classroom is really important. So the survey is in the chat. So please take that, make sure you do attendance, and reach out to Mike because he's got some great resources for you guys.
It's
So
all free.
that's it. Bye guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks.